everybody. If you can hear me and see me, let me know. You guys are really up close and personal here. So I can scoot this back a little bit. I'm doing this on a different device. Don't have anybody in here yet. That's okay. If I don't, I will rant about the Mariners for 40 minutes or so, and then we will move on. I'm just going to give about 5 minutes to get some people in here. What's up, man? How's it going? Glad you're in here. I knew you'd be in here. Welcome in. Tough loss for your Tigers today. Can you hear me okay? Let me know if you can hear me okay. No, I knew you were here. Can you hear me all right? Cool. Just wanted to make sure. Your Tigers had a good series. They beat Cleveland twice out of three. I know they lost today, but good to see them get a couple wins. I'm rooting for the Tigers. That's always a team like I love old Tiger Stadium and everything, so I'm glad to see them. I hope they end up having a good season, or at least those young guys show some signs of improvement because it'd be good to see the Tigers back. I didn't like him during the Miguel Cabrera era, though, because they always killed the Mariners, but I respected him. Just going to give it a couple more minutes, see if we get some more people in here. Not just consider it, just talk Mariners, just had some things, right? I mean, like, I think the Tigers have some good young players. I mean, they're not going to win a ton of games, but I think they could. I think you're just looking for a team that can be competitive. And if they can win 70, 75 games, I think that's a huge step forward for Detroit this year if they can do that. And honestly, I mean that division is winnable. Minnesota's playing pretty well. Cleveland's good, but their offense is a little challenged. Chicago doesn't look that great, and then Kansas City's been awful so far. I'm sure they're going to win some games eventually, but the Royals have been terrible. So maybe they can sneak in a couple wins here. Just going to check something on the phone real quick. Just waiting for a couple more people to possibly come in, and then I will dive into some Mariners rants here that I wanted to get off my chest about this season. Clip picture having a perfect game, but the umpire ruined. Was that for the Mariners? Was that Castillo? I don't know if the umpire necessarily ruined anything for the Mariners. There was an ump that, well, if it was the Mariners, it was Castillo on Sunday, was close to perfect, but it wasn't anything that the umps messed up or anything like that. Got a couple people in here. Welcome aboard. If you're in here, oh, it was the Tigers. I didn't see that. I didn't see if they almost had a perfect game. That sucks that happened. So hopefully, but getting wins is important too. But yeah, in seasons when things aren't always going your way, it's nice to get some extra things. So perfect game would have been pretty cool. Yeah, I didn't see that. I haven't watched much of the Tigers. I check the box scores every now and then, just see how they're doing. I don't think I've watched much of their games. They always seem to play early, right? Yeah, seriously, I don't blame you. I'm used to it with the Mariners too, outside of last year. So, but yeah, I just haven't watched. The Tigers always seem to play at like 10:30 for me in the morning or something. They always seem to be like playing early games. They never seem to play early afternoon or evenings when I can watch. Every time I go to the MLB app, they seem to have like an 11 a.m. game. Just gonna give it to the 5 minute mark here, then I'll dive in to some Mariners stuff. Again, appreciate. We got two people in here. Appreciate that. Everyone that's come in. If you're watching this afterwards, I'm just going to talk about some Mariners things. Really going to talk mostly about the DH situation. I know a lot of people are up in arms about it, so I just want to clarify some things. Not that I work for the Mariners, but do some of that. Right? Yeah, seriously. They just always, every Tigers game seems to be at like 10 in the morning or something like that. Yeah, I've got two people in here, so hopefully going to have a couple more. Hopefully I put on some social medias. We'll see. If not, like I said, I get some views later and people can watch me rant and rave about the Mariners. So if that's what they so choose, just going to give another minute here. I keep saying that, but we'll give it one more minute. I hear people yelling out in the other room. I think it's just the TV being on, though. I may have to run out at some point if my youngest kid wakes up. He finally fell asleep. Just giving a couple minutes here. Two people in. Thank you for joining. All right, I'll go ahead and start diving in. I guess if anybody, a couple people that are in here want to fire away with some questions, go for it. I really wanted to talk mostly, about the Mariners' designated hitter situation, and it's been something that if you go on Mariners Twitter, that what you worrying about it. Oh yeah, you're good, man. No worries. Whatever you gotta do. No pressure to stay or anything. If you gotta go, you gotta go. So no worries. Like I said, I'm just gonna kind of rant and rave here. And if more people come in, awesome. If not, that's fine too, and people can go back and watch it later. So not too worried about it. But yeah, I mean, obviously, if you're a Mariners fan watching this or just somebody watching this, the Mariners' DH second base situation has been a bit of a mess this year with Colton Wong and the DH spot. And I know a lot of people have been very critical of Justin Hollander and Jerry Dipoto for what they've done with the DH situation. But, and it's been really bad with Listella and Cooper Hummel in there. But, it's not necessarily what the plan was going into the year. And I think that's where people are getting up in arms and they want questions answered and they want things solved. But at the end of the day, the goal was for Taylor Trammell and Dylan Moore to be in there mostly. And I think to have Teoscar Hernandez DH and to have Dylan Moore play different positions and then have those people DH. So the notion that this is just a disaster because Listella and Cooper Hummel have been getting designated hitter at bats really wasn't the plan going into the year. And I saw some comments on Twitter that I wanted to welcome aboard. Got a third person in here. Again, if you guys have any questions, fire them away. I'm just kind of ranting a little bit about the Mariners. Bit of a therapy session, talking DH and second base here mostly. Those are positions getting the most criticism. Criticism, especially the designated hitter position. And like I talked about with Hummel and Listella, that wasn't the plan going into the season necessarily for this team. So to criticize them for getting the bats, and again, I was going to address it, then I got thrown off there. On Twitter, I saw a few people talking about how, there's one comment I saw that was pointing out that the rest of the Mariners hitters, so like, Julio, Ty, Gino, Cal, Kelenic, all those guys are having good seasons. So that who can why would this team get any better? Because the good players are playing good. There's really nowhere, for those guys, for this team to get better because like I mentioned, all those hitters, Cal, Gino, Ty, Julio have all been swinging the bats really well. Kirby, Gilbert, Castillo, and most of the guys in the bullpen, have been good as well. If Mariners make the playoffs and Tigers don't, I'm going to completely awesome, man. I love it. I'll root for the Tigers too. If the Tigers get in, I will definitely pull for the Tigers. I'm pulling for the Tigers anyways. But yeah. So the comment was that all the best Mariners players are off to a good start. So essentially, this team's not going to get better because the good players are playing good. But it's not just that like guys that we thought might be bad are being bad. They're being historically awful. I mean, you can say what you want about Tommy Listella, but he shouldn't be this bad. Same with Cooper Hummel. Same with Colton Wong. And anybody that wants to sit here and be like, oh, these people on Twitter talking about how I knew this team should get a bigger bat, and I knew Colton Wong wasn't the answer, and I'm being proven right. Like, these guys are having historically bad starts. They are getting the worst WCR plus in baseball, I believe, from the DH and from the second base position. So, I mean, congrats. If you thought that's what was going to happen, maybe the DH, but, from second base, Colton Wong is a 745 career OPS. I mean, unless you just thought he was going to fall off a cliff, magically this year. And even if he is bad, he's not going to be this bad all season. His OPS right now is like 299. So unless you thought that's what was going to happen, I don't really get the notion of standing there and saying that this is awful or that this team can't get any better. Yeah, it can. Like, Cole Wong needs to hit better. AJ Pollock is hitting 108 and is a career 745 OPS. I know these guys are veterans, and yeah, it's possible that they have dropped off to a point of no return. But the notion that, you know, this is just what they are is ridiculous. Tom Murphy is another one. Um, has mash lefties in his career. Now he's coming off an injury for sure, but again, he's hitting 065 to start this season. So, to act like, well, I thought to say I think these players are bad and therefore, what they're doing right now is what they were meant to do is kind of off base. And what I'm saying by that is these guys should all be doing better. Murphy, Pollock, Hummel should all be better than what they're doing. Yeah, and the pitching is the best part of the team. It's definitely a team. Listen, coming into the year, and excuse me, you checked out my season previews and stuff. The team was going to be built around pitching. I didn't think this was going to be like the best offense in the league, but I thought it was maybe like top 12 offense and top 2, 3 pitching staff in general. I mean, that's, just the two aspects of the game, narrowing it down, but the best I can do for it. And the offense hasn't been terrible, and people are right. Like, Julio's been pretty good. Ty France has been good. Eugenio Suarez has been good. Cal Raleigh's been good. Teoscar Hernandez could be a little bit better. Jared Kelenick's been really good. And it is. And J.P. Crawford's even been okay. He's got a good on-base percentage so far. It really has been Colton Wong and the DH spot. And then it's been Colton Wong, Tommy LaStella, Cooper Hummel, and Tom Murphy. Those are the 4 guys that just haven't hit for this team whatsoever. But, the blame that seems to be going to Jerry Dipoto and Justin Hollander for this is just a little absurd because you're getting 4 guys that are just having their career worst. So far, we're 19 games in, and they're going to play better. But, the team is 8-11, so they're not in a position here where it's the end of the world, too. I hope Mariners fans, if you're watching this later, watching this now, understand that it's not done. We're 19 games into this. These guys are going to hit better. Like, Colton Wong's OPS this season is not going to be 317. So the notion that there's no way this team can get better is ridiculous. Colton Wong will hit better eventually. Tom Murphy will hit better eventually. AJ Pollock will hit better eventually. Even if you think these guys are washed, you know what I mean? Like, they're still, what the numbers are putting up now is what, like, I would put up if you sent me out there on a daily basis. So even if you're, like, in the category of, listen, I don't think Colton Wong's going to be good. I think Tom Murphy's cooked coming off an injury. I think that AJ Pollock is washed up. Even if you think that's the case with these guys, they're going to hit better than they're hitting now. And that's really been the main issue for the Mariners right now, is that bottom group not hitting and not delivering. So, even if they're just a little bit better, it's going to help. And then again, the notion that Dipoto and Hollander set up this offseason to have Tommy LaStella and Cooper Hummel be the primary DHs is just false. And it's not true. Like, that wasn't the goal. Taylor Trammell and Dylan Moore would have been on this roster. I don't know. LaStella might not have as sort of an off the right on three in here. Appreciate everybody that's in here. If you guys have any questions, fire them. But LaStella might have made the team as like the last guy on the roster as a pinch hitting bench bat. But Cooper Hummel's probably not on the roster with Taylor Trammell here, and lost my train of thought there. And Dylan Moore too. I don't know. Maybe another pitcher would go on. That doesn't matter. But they would have been the guys primarily taking those roles. So you would have Taylor Trammell, who can play every outfield spot, hoping to rotate out there, especially against righties, and even playing against lefties occasionally, and have him and Pollock sort of rotate either a DH, sort of right field role with Teoscar. You kind of have a Teoscar, Trammell, Pollock, DH outfield platoon going on. I wouldn't, and it'd kind of be Trammell and Pollock platooning essentially and rotating from the outfield to DH. That alone makes your DH position a lot better because you're getting at-bats from Teoscar Hernandez. And even if you have Taylor Trammell as your DH, that should be an upgrade. Take this random question. If all of the Mariners players were NFL players, who do you think would be the best and what position? Oh, hold on. Let me pull that question up again. If all the Mariners players were NFL players, Julio, probably Julio Rodriguez. He's just the most athletic player on the team. Um, Kellenick's pretty athletic too, so I imagine he would be able to play somewhere out there. But yeah, if I had to guess what Mariners player would be best at football, it'd probably be Julio. He's the best athlete on the team, so it's hard not to pick him. And then also, going back to what I was saying, if you've got Dylan Moore in there, and and then you have Dylan Moore who's able to play platoon at second and short, so he can play second against lefties. He can play short against lefties, and Sam Haggerty can play some second against lefties. So you don't expose Colton Wong and J.P. Crawford to platoon disadvantages as much. Dylan can play third base, so then Gino can DH on a couple days. That's what the plan was for this team. Now you can knock that and say that's stupid. They should have gone out and gotten a bat that's just an everyday designated hitter and left it at that. And that's fine. But the bats that were out there are not exactly tearing it up either. Yeah, I would have been okay giving Carlos Santana a 1 year, couple $1 million deal. But even if you look at Carlos Santana, his numbers for the Mariners weren't amazing last year. He had some really clutch hits. He's a good on-base guy. He can play first. He can DH. But he's sort of a mess on the base paths. He's not going to move you along. He's going to clog the bases a little bit. I'm not trying to be a clog the bases old school guy here. But, you do have to look at those things. And talking about guys, like, people are getting on the Mariners for getting A.J. Pollock and Colton Wong, and they're claiming that they should have known regression was going to happen. I mean, Carlos Santana is a pretty obvious regression candidate, too. Now, he's off to a decent start this year. I don't know all his numbers off the top of my head. I know he's still walking a lot. And yeah, I'd have been fine bringing him back on a 1 year deal. That would have been perfectly fine. And I'm on record as saying I do wish they would have added another bat. I do wish they would have gone out and gotten someone. But the notion that their idea was just La Stella and Hummel at DH is ridiculous, because that was not the game plan going into the year. I saw another comment. It was from former Mariners beater. I don't want to name names because I'm not trying to bash anybody when I do these. It's not a personal thing. I just recognize things and I want to respond to it. And the comment was that, using Dylan Moore and Taylor Trammell as a scapegoat was ridiculous. Let me get to this comment real quick, then I'll go back to my train of thought. I think the favorite player of the Mariners is Ichiro, because Ichiro broke the hit record. Ichiro's not there anymore. When did Ichiro finally retire? Oh, he came back to the Mariners in 2018, and then he played in the Japan series in 2019 and retired. Yeah, he broke the hits record in 2004. That was a crazy season. It was 2004. That was the collapse of the 2001 team. Everyone got old overnight with Brett Boone and Olerud, and they lost Mike Cameron. But 2004, Ichiro leads the AL in WAR, and the team still loses 99 games. Pitching was a mess that season for the Mariners. They went in 2003 from having 5 starters start every game to just having a rash of injuries and decline in 2004. But so the comment was by the former beat writer. Again, I'm not naming names. If you saw it, you saw it. And he said that using Dylan Moore and Taylor Trammell coming back kind of isn't an acceptable excuse, that the team should have been fine without those guys. And one, they have been fine. They're 8-11 with a +1 run differential. So they have not been necessarily poor overall. They've been a little unlucky. They've been about 500-ish with 0-4 in extra inning games. That's how I describe the Mariners this year. They've been a 500 team that has lost a lot of coin flip games. A couple guys like Trammell and Dylan Moore kind of are the difference right now. They're probably not, 9-10 or 10-9 with those guys in there right now. I'm not claiming they'd each be worth 1 win so far this season, but having their bats in there might have swung a couple of those games. So it's just an odd comment. I don't think anybody's claiming that Trammell and Dylan Moore are like the Mariners are missing Barry Bonds and Ichiro from the lineup right now. But they're missing 2 guys that were going to play a pivotal role. on this roster against righties and lefties. So you're missing, a key guy in the lineup against righties and Trammell, and one of your best hitters against lefties is Dylan Moore, who kind of mashes left-handed pitching. So absolutely, that's been a factor for the Mariners, 100%. Do I think they should trade for anyone? Not right now. Yeah, I mean, sure, like if someone was available that's really good that we don't know about. I'm never against making the team better and going out and doing a trade, but in terms of anything at the moment, it's hard right now because outside of Oakland and the Nationals, and maybe Colorado here soon, no one's really selling at the moment. Every team's still in it, for lack of a better term. So I don't think there's anything you can really do in terms of going out and getting somebody. Once we get closer to the deadline, we'll see, if any injuries come to this team. If we get to June, July, and Colton Wong is still really bad, maybe that DH position, maybe Dylan Moore and Taylor Trammell haven't helped that DH platoon situation, then definitely, and I think they will make moves, but they've got to be in contention too. I don't want to get too far ahead either. But yeah, I'd imagine they'd make a move. You can always add a bullpen arm, no matter what. I think you can always be in the market for bullpen depth. Right now, I mean, the Robbie Ray injury situation scares me a little bit. Jerry DePoe talked about it, him possibly being back mid-May. I think we're looking maybe June. They could be in the market for a starting pitcher, especially if Chris Flexen keeps struggling. And but yeah, it's just not a lot of teams going to be selling this early, so it's going to take until June before someone really gets on the sell train, and then it would probably be something like a Carlos Santana, which was a good move for the Mariners last year. That really helped push them over the edge. But I think they're going to wait and see getting a couple guys back if that will help. But yeah, I really just wanted to hop on. I was hoping to get some more people, but that's all good. Everyone can go back and watch this. But I did want to address, because I've been kind of quiet on where I stand with the front office. And I get people's frustration, but it's been 19 games. And they've lost a lot of the coin flip games that should turn around a little bit for them. They might not be 48-20 in one-run games like they've been in the past. I don't know exactly what they were. But they can at least be 38-30. You know what I mean? Like, there's no reason they can't do that, and be a little bit better. Maybe a little bit worse, but still decent in those coin flip games. That'll go a long way. Because even this year, just put them, they're 0-4 in extras and 2-5 in one-run games. Put them at 3-4 in one-run games. If the Mariners were 9-10 right now, I'd be okay with that. I think 8-11, sounds a lot worse than 9-10. That's just part of being early in the season. And it's just easy for people to hit the panic button, on things. And that's why you don't want to get off to a slow start, because then the blame game starts coming out and people start getting thrown under the bus a little bit and things get, I don't know, not up in arms, but sort of, it's all you have to go off of. So I think people get really frustrated, whereas if this team started 19-8 or something, and then went 2-7, they'd be 21-15, and everyone would be kind of calm still because they're still overall really good. But a slow start makes it tougher. But I don't think the Mariners had a bad offseason. I think Justin Hollander and Jerry DePoto did not plan on a couple injuries to very key players on this roster in Trammell and Dylan Moore. And I think that has led to, unfortunately, the team having to play guys like LaStella and Cooper Hummel at DH. And I also think, too, it just doesn't help that Tom Murphy hasn't hit and A.J. Pollock hasn't hit. If A.J. Pollock was mashing the ball, he'd probably be the everyday DH. They would just let him do it and, maybe switch him and Teoscar a couple times. But he's not doing it. So it's not just LaStella and Cooper Hummel. Colton Wong not hitting is affecting this, because if Colton Wong was hitting, you could have, played Caballero today at second and had Colton Wong DH. I mean, maybe not against a lefty, but, why not? So, Tommy LaStella out of Pollock, Murphy, Wong, Hummel, and maybe I'm missing someone there. He's actually got the best numbers. So, like, you're gonna roll with Tom Littell. Is there anyone Mariners you hate, make you mad? You think the Mariners need to release? I don't get mad. Like when I was younger, I'd sit there and say I hated certain guys, but not anymore as I've gotten older. They're all human beings, so I don't hate anybody on the team. It's just life's too short to truly dislike someone that much. I think they need to make some roster moves. I think once Dylan Moore and Taylor Trammell come back, I think you can DFA Tommy La Stella, send down Cooper Hummel, um, stuff like that. But no, there's no one that I really dislike on the team. Like I said, back in the day, I had guys I didn't like. When I was younger, I never liked when they signed Scott Spezio. He just drove me nuts. He wasn't good. Trying to think of some other guys. Carlos Silva, I couldn't stand when he was on the Mariners. Um, I'm trying to think if there's anybody else. Yeah, there were some other guys too. There were some bad years. I've watched every Mariners game just about, or followed some portion of it. There's some games I haven't been able to watch, but I've been a fan since I was 5 years old, so '92. I've pretty much watched some good years: '95, '97, 2000, 2001, but from 2004, the '99 loss year after the really good run they had, I think I probably watched every game since then, at least some portion of it. Probably since 2001, 2002, I've seen some portion of every Mariners game. You're good, man. Take your time. Um, at some point, I've seen a portion of every Mariners game since then. When I was younger, I didn't watch them all the time. When you're 7, 8, you're very casual. But once I got to 12, 13, 14, like I said, there's some games I can't watch them out or I'm working, but I've at least watched the highlights or watched the condensed game or gone back and watched them at some point. So not much else I wanted to get to in this. I just want to tell you, if you're a Mariners fan, you're watching this either on here now or you're coming back later, take a deep breath. Like, it is going to be okay. It's 19 games. They're 8 and 11. Let me ask you this. Take away the season. Just take away everything you've seen so far this year. If I would have told you at some point this season the Mariners are going to have an 8 and 11 stretch of baseball, what would you have said? You would have said, yeah, of course they are. Like, there's going to be a 19-game stretch where they go 8 and 11. 8 and 11 is not even terrible. If you're like, that's your worst stretch of baseball, you would probably say that's okay. Or, and this might not be their worst stretch of baseball. I don't know. But you would understand that. And you would be, um, sympathetic. What's the word I'm looking for that? Like, you'd be okay with that. That would be okay. So it's God, I'm sorry, I lost my train of thought here. But yeah, if I told you this team is you'd agree. This team's gonna have an 8 and 11 stretch. It stinks that it's this early in the season. It sucks because it's all you have to go off of. But it's going to get better. It is. They've also played some really good baseball teams. I think that's part of it that doesn't get talked about. They're 8 and 11, having played a really good stretch of teams, and they play some more tough ones. If they can be 500 at the end of April, mid-May, I'm okay with that. They've played Cleveland 6 times. Cleveland was a playoff team last year, and the Mariners went, or 7 times. Excuse me, the Mariners went 3-4 against them, and they went toe to toe with them for a few games. They played the Angels. The Mariners went 1-2 against them. The Angels are a decent ball club. They're better than people think. The Angels sort of seem kind of a running joke about things because they have Trout, Ohtani, and they don't win. But the Angels are not a bad baseball team. And the Mariners lost a series 7 with Shohei Ohtani pitching. The Mariners were at the Cubs. Played 3 games against the Cubs team. It's playing really well so far this year. I don't know if that's a playoff team, but it's certainly a team that, is much better than they were last year and at least a competitive baseball team. They've played Colorado, who's bad, and they won all 3. And they played the Brewers, who look like a really good, solid baseball team. Milwaukee looks like a team that can definitely make a run at this. They're off to a great start. They're 14-5. Their pitching's phenomenal, and they've got enough hitting. Milwaukee's similar to kind of, I think, the team we want the Mariners to be, a team that leans on the pitching and has kind of just enough timely hitting, to win games, essentially. So the Mariners have played really good ball. The only games the Mariners have played against teams that are just straight up bad is Colorado. That's the only team the Mariners played that's a bad baseball team. And there's a lot of bad baseball teams out there the Mariners are going to play. And they're going to start beating some of the other teams too. Like, they're going to win some of these series here. I mean, so take a deep breath. It's 19 games. The Mariners are 8-11, and they're 8-11 with a couple things. They're 8-11 with Julio, who truthfully hasn't really taken off yet. He's been good, but hasn't really taken off yet. And they're being 8-11 with everything I talked about earlier, with Colton Wong being the worst second baseman in the league, with having the worst DH production in baseball. You know what I mean? So all that stuff put together, and they're still been competitive. Those guys are going to play a little better. They might not be great. Like, Colton Wong might be Adam Frazier of last year, which we were hoping to upgrade over. But even if he's that's going to be a big improvement. A.J. Pollock should at least be able to hit like a right-handed Taylor Trammell, essentially. And then Tom Murphy, you hope, gets back to the Tom Murphy we've seen in the past and can hit like the solid lefty mashing catcher we've had before. And if you get all those things, they're going to be fine. They've had a tough stretch of baseball against some really good baseball teams. They've played a total of 10 games against Cleveland and Milwaukee, who are both probably going to be playoff teams. Cubs team that is much improved. A Angels team that is going to compete for a playoff spot. They are. And say I'm wrong. The Angels will compete for a playoff spot. I'm not sure if they're going to get in, but they will. And a bad Rockies team. And the Mariners swept the Rockies. So let's take a deep breath. I will have a Cardinals series preview up tomorrow. Let me get to that question in just a second. Actually, I'll take the question. If the Seahawks players were in the MLB, who do I think would be the best? Well, this would be easy if Russell Wilson was still on the team, because I could say Russ, because he was a baseball player. I don't know. There's usually a lot more guys that there's usually a lot more football players that I feel like have had a chance to play baseball maybe than baseball that could play football. And that's the thing too with the other question about Mariners player playing football. I said Julio and Kelenic. There might be some guys on that team that played football, and I don't know. I don't know of any of the Mariners players that played baseball. I would think someone like Tyler Lockett is pretty smooth. He'd be good at baseball. I could see him being a scrappy player. Honestly, I could see like Drew Lock, because he's got a really strong arm. He might have been like a pitcher. I would be shocked at all if Drew Lock, was a baseball player at some point. It's tough because all those O linemen, D linemen, the big boys up front are really built for baseball sometimes. So I don't know, but my guess would be I could see Tyler Lockett being good. I could see Quandre Diggs maybe being good. I don't know. That's a good one. I'll say Drew Lock. Something tells me I could be dead wrong in this. Something tells me Drew Lock was a baseball player at some point. Maybe he looks like a baseball player. Maybe that's what it is. But yeah, I'm going to wrap it up here in about a couple minutes. I will have a Cardinals series preview up tomorrow. Going to be an interesting series for the Mariners because the Cardinals, they can hit. That's a really good offense. They've been scuffling too. They're 8-11. They've been kind of doing the same thing the Mariners have, just in terms of record, maybe not going about it the same way. But that's a really good offense. They've been struggling pitching-wise. They've got Steven Matz going on Friday, Miles Michaelis, and then Jack Flaherty to finish off the series. So, they've got two decent pitchers and then one solid pitcher going. But they can hit. I mean, you're going up against Paul Goldschmidt and Nolan Arenado in this series, so it's not going to be easy. Good news for the Mariners is you got George Kirby and Luis Castillo going for the Mariners, in Game 1 and Game 2, and then Game 3 you've got Flexen. So we'll see. Ramirez have a trident. Yes, so yeah, that's definitely the logo used to be the trident. Do I have something around here? If you see the picture I used for the live stream, and they're bringing the trident back as their like home run thing. So somewhere I had a hat that had a trident in it, but I don't know where it went. I'm gonna go ahead and head off. I just want to make this video. It was sort of random rant, but I did just want to chat and let people know to take a deep breath. The offseason plan was decent. It was not to just rely on Colton Wong, or it was relying on Colton. It was just relying on Cooper Hummel, Tommy LaStella. Get Trammell back, get Dylan Moore back, and let's go. Let's get this going. So I'm going to head off. I will try to do another live stream maybe next week, something like that. Let me know what you guys think. Thank you to everybody that did tune in. I truly appreciate it. Thanks for the likes. Didn't have a lot of people in here, but I do appreciate the 3 thumbs up. Animal Sanctuary, always appreciate you stopping by, my man. Thank you for watching and sticking with me throughout the whole thing, and thank you for the questions and keeping me engaged. Yeah, you have a good night too, man, and I will see everybody next time. Later.